right, let's dive into something that has a lot of people in the crypto space completely baffled. The strange story of the XRP ETF. This was supposed to be the moment, right? The big catalyst everyone was waiting for. But what actually happened? Well, it went in the exact opposite direction anyone expected. So what we're really looking at here is a story with two totally conflicting parts. On one hand, you've got this huge positive breakthrough for XRP, and on the other, a market reaction that just makes no sense. That's the puzzle we're going to piece together today. And here it is, laid out plain and simple. The milestone, the very first spot XRP ETF goes live on the NASDAQ. I mean, that's a massive win, no question. But then the reality. The price of XRP immediately tanks by 7%. What gives? Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? How does a piece of news this good, with this much institutional firepower behind it, not only fail to send the price soaring, but actually cause it to crash? Let's get into the mechanics of it. Okay, so to really get why this was so confusing, we have to first understand just how big of a deal this launch was supposed to be. You know, this wasn't some minor news item. This was a landmark event that, on paper, should have been a complete game changer. So the date was November 13th, 2025. A company called Canary Capital officially launched its spot XRP ETF with the ticker XRPC. And they didn't just launch it anywhere. They launched it on the NASDAQ, one of the biggest, most respected exchanges on the planet. This was, by every measure, a historic day. And if you want to know if the big players were interested, just follow the money. Before the market even opened, there was almost $250 million in buy orders lined up and ready to go. This wasn't just everyday investors. This was the so-called smart money, making it clear they wanted in. And once trading started, that interest was obvious. The ETF saw anywhere from $26 to $58 million in volume in just the first few hours. So, you see, everything was pointing toward a massive success. It looked like the perfect setup for a huge price rally. But that's not what happened. So, you've got all this hype, all this money, all this positive momentum. The story should have a happy ending, right? Well, this is where the story completely diverges from what the price chart was doing. This is where things get weird. And here are the hard numbers. Before the launch, XRP was trading pretty nicely, around $2.48. But right after this good news hit, the price fell all the way down to about $2.30. That's a 7% drop. A clear, painful nosedive that had pretty much everyone staring at their screens, thinking, wait, what just happened? Okay, so let's play detective. What could possibly explain this? Well, when something this counterintuitive happens, analysts usually point to two main suspects. Let's take a look. So, theory number one is a tale as old as time in the markets. Buy the rumor, sell the news. Basically, tons of people who were betting on the ETF getting approved had already bought XRP weeks or months in advance. The moment the news was official, it was their signal to sell and take their profits, which created a huge wave of selling pressure. And the second factor? Just plain bad luck. The entire crypto market was having a rough day, and that negative sentiment was like an anchor, dragging XRP down with it. And this really gets to the heart of the lesson here. Just because you have one amazing piece of news, that is absolutely no guarantee of an immediate price spike. The market is just way, way more complicated than that. So, does this mean the ETF was a total bust? A failure? Well, not so fast. If you only look at the first day's price action, you're missing the entire point. We need to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. So what is a spot ETF, really? The best way to think about it is like a bridge. It's a financial bridge that finally allows massive institutional investors, we're talking pension funds, hedge funds, to easily and safely buy and hold real XRP through markets they already trust. It opens up a whole new world of capital. And that's the key right there. The real impact of building this bridge isn't about day one. It's structural. It's about what happens over the long term. And while nobody has a crystal ball, some analysts believe this new access could be the very thing that helps XRP push past that $3.50 mark down the road. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Okay, so we have the short-term chaos and the long-term potential. The big question is, what should you be watching now to get a sense of which way this is actually headed? Well, there are four main things to keep an eye on. First, and this is the most important one, capital inflows. Is institutional money actually consistently flowing into this ETF week after week? Second, the charts.
How is the price behaving? Is it bouncing off key support levels, or is it getting rejected at resistance? Third, was that sell the news reaction just a one-day fluke, or is the selling continuing? And finally, you gotta look at the macro environment. XRP doesn't exist in a vacuum. What's happening with the rest of crypto and the global economy is gonna play a huge role.
And that all brings us to this final huge question. Was this ETF the actual starting gun for mass institutional adoption of XRP? Or was it just a false alarm? A lot of hype that didn't really change the game. Honestly, the jury's still out, and you can bet we'll be watching every move to see how this incredible story unfolds.